was. I reminded of a very short little rhyme round that we sing. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. So as some of you know, and for those you that don't, I am a manager in an affordable housing apartment community here in Chico for low-income seniors. There's an application required to be placed on our waiting list. A few weeks ago, I sat with an applicant as he worked to complete his application. Our application is 10 pages long now. It was 2 pages when I was hired 16 years ago. A lot of stuff to work through, and oftentimes things are missed. And if critical things are missed, I can't accept the application. So I always, on the phone or walk in, say, I'll help you go through this page by page. So during our time together with this gentleman, he shared his past with me, his struggles with addiction and alcohol, and the years he couldn't remember, a few decades. He proudly stated that he's now 3 years clean and sober and working on getting his life back on track. When the application was finished and completed, he thanked me for being so helpful. I automatically replied, that's what I do. It's part of it. It's just part of my job. He assured me that it was more than my just doing my job. I continue to this day, 16 years later, to be amazed and surprised at the gratitude from another for just doing my job. I realized later that this person's burden had been lessened simply because there was an honest connection with another person. And what I also realized was that this was one of the few times that I actually heard and saw someone. This particular interaction was a gift I received from someone I initially perceived as less fortunate. I also made a mental note to stop diminishing someone else's gratitude. Connections and interactions like these begin to lower the self-imposed or conditioned barriers between two people. And in spite of these walls, the heart seemingly under its own power begins to soften and opens to the one next to us. I've also found and learned during these true interactions with others that silence from me is what's needed. Surprisingly, it feels effortless just to be there. And when asked a question, the right words just find their way out of my mouth and into the space between us. I want to share something from the local paper on Saturday. There's a column called Off the Record, and it's by one of the Chico Enterprise Record journalists, Kyra Gottesman, I think is how they pronounce it. She titled it, "The Ultimate Acts of Paying It Forward." She says, 2 to 3 times a week, I work with other volunteers to distribute food. If you think food scarcity isn't real, think again. She says she sees hundreds of people every month who are hungry. It's rough sometimes, heartbreaking, a national crime really in this country of plenty that any citizen goes without food. It's often physically and emotionally strenuous, but at the end of a shift, after putting food into the hands of the famished, I am blessed, believing that in some small way, I've made a difference in their lives. It's a belief that's hard to hold, especially when week after week, month after month, she sees so many new faces and so many of the same faces. Hunger is never ending, she says. Over time, we learn some of their origin stories. We hold their babies, hand their children snacks while they get food to take home, be that a house, an apartment, a car, tent, or a cardboard box. One of these families, a strikingly attractive 30-something couple with a precious 18-month-old son, came to us weekly for nearly a year. Through no fault or bad decision of their own, they found themselves living in their old van. A week or so ago, they came into the center to tell the manager they were moving away back to where their families lived. They gave her a handful of envelopes, each neatly printed with a volunteer's name. I received and opened my envelope after they left, and oh my heart, this is what it said. Dear Kyra, please accept this token of appreciation from the Dennis family. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything. You have been a great help to our family. God bless you. Advance Merry Christmas. Love, the Dennis family. The small token of appreciation was a $20 bill. It might as well have been a gold bar, as it was anything but a small token for this family. I swallowed the lump in my throat and wiped my eyes. I tucked the envelope in my purse, knowing I'd use the $20 to pay this family's kindness forward to another family in need just as soon as I had the chance. Little did I know that opportunity would come in less than 24 hours. I was at my desk the next afternoon when this text message from the wife of someone who I'd served through my volunteer work at the center and who later joined our volunteer team popped up on my phone. Hi, this is Red's wife. I'm sorry, Red passed away. In subsequent texts, I'd learned he'd been killed in a horrific car accident on his way to orientation for his dream job. It happened a day after the last time I saw him, when he'd come to the center jubilant with the news about his new job. I shared his joy as he scooped me up in a big bear hug, lifted me off my feet and said, "You have to stay in touch. You are one of the best things I got from coming here." His words, like his hug, warmed me to the bone. He stayed and volunteered that day, standing by the door, signing people in to get their food and handing each and every one of them a $5 bill. It was his way of passing along his good fortune to others, because he said, "I've been in their shoes." And suddenly he was gone. Just like that, my friend, a devoted husband, father, grandfather, and uncle, was gone. I channeled my shock, grief, and anger into action. Taking the $20 bill from the Dennis family, I added a few more bills to it, and with the help of other volunteers, collected up some food, including a Thanksgiving turkey, and took it all to Red's family. The greatest gift you can give others is allowing them to contribute to you. The Dennis family and Red gave me this gift by allowing me to make a difference in their lives when they needed a hand up. What they didn't know, and never would, because in two different ways they were now gone, was the unexpected contribution they made to me, the Dennis family through their endearing letter of gratitude, and Red through his friendship. Truly, I am blessed.
As a word person, a linguist and science writer, in preparing for this morning, it felt really natural to me to think about how a small shift, just 3 letters, T-E-R, marks the big shift in meaning between the nouns independence and this month's theme of interdependence. 3 little letters, T-E-R, are the difference in 2 common prefixes from Latin, in meaning not dependent, and inter meaning between or among. These powerful prefixes denote the relationship dichotomy. Apologies for too many syllables in some of these words. The relationship dichotomy of independence on the one hand, me, myself, you, yourself, and on the other, interdependence, the collective, we, us, together. Susan has so eloquently, heartfelt, reminded us of the many facets of interdependence in our relations with family and friends and coworkers and others who need to be able to count on us. In my career as a writer and author, specializing in life science and human biology, I became and remain, better or worse, very good at being independent, alone. 4 walls, a couple of computers, a printer, a bunch of books, and the internet, and voila, me, myself, and I spent 60 hours a week for 4 years. Luckily, though, because writing biology textbooks was my bread and butter, starting in chapter 1, I had to start by disabusing my student readers of the common notion that we humans are somehow meant to rule life on Earth, or that we're able to go about our business without being subject to fundamental laws of nature, such as the really inconvenient truth that all organisms, including us, are part of an interconnected web of life on Earth, and that being interconnected, we're also interdependent with all other life forms. Now, you've all heard this all before, I am sure, even if it was only the last time you were in a biology class. But I want to spin it out a little more this morning in the context of me or we, which was the title of this service, because a lot of very smart people are hollering that we're pretty much in an all-hands-on-deck situation when it comes to dealing effectively, not with the problems we have in our own communities, but with large-scale environmental problems. My dearest wish, if I had one wish, it would be that my son and grandson and the other step-grandchildren that I have, and that all the people I love, the young people, will have a good Earth to live on. Last year, the World Wildlife Fund released its latest Living Planet report. It comes out every 2 years. A comprehensive study of trends in global biodiversity, how many species there are left, and the general health of the planet. The report lays out the scientific evidence to back up what, if we choose to pay attention, nature of late has been bashing us over the head with, through repeated extreme weather events, wildfires, droughts, cataclysmic floods, depletion of aquifers, some of which will never be rechargeable during the human lifespan, maybe many human lifespans, species extinctions, and so on through a very disturbingly long list. From those things, nature is telling us that unsustainable human activity is pushing natural systems that support life on Earth to the edge. There's a sense for a lot of folks that collectively we humans are looking into the abyss from that edge. Then an aside here, it's pretty interesting. There's considerable evidence that if humans were taken out of the picture, poof, some great source said, I've had enough with you guys. Nature has a tremendous capacity for self-healing. Now that's a complicated topic, not going to get into it here because it'd have to be a quiz. But a couple of best-selling books by my fellow science writer, Alan Weissman, called one, The World Without Us, and the second one, Countdown, Our Last Best Hope for a Future on Earth, make for some very provocative reading. In a world with so many huge, pressing environmental issues, and assuming, as I do, that most of humanity would prefer to have a continued presence on our planet, what are the ways most likely to help us out of our environmental pickle? A gaggle of researchers at Penn State recently devised a course to educate students and people like me and you on precisely this question. And according to them, the answer isn't solely individual action, independent, me, nor collective action, the we, it's both. So it really is, in this context, it's not me or we, it's individuals and the collective, all of us. As individuals, yeah, we recycle, although I hate to say it, recycling is pretty much a drop in the bucket from what studies say. But more importantly, we can put solar panels on our homes and businesses and churches and switch to appliances and vehicles that operate on the electricity generated by those panels. We all know that. We can eat way less beef and other meats because it costs so much in terms of resources to produce those foods, while switching to a mostly plant-based diet. Again, we hear that all the time. I've had a hard time with it. We can get up in the morning on Earth Day and add our feet and our voices and our energy to reminding our neighbors that we are all interconnected and interdependent. A little bit of what we're doing here in this congregation for this month. Maybe most important of all, as individuals, we can vote Marby, right? And otherwise support environmentally conscious political leaders who will be essential in the we arena of saving our planet. We need common ground on this. As the Living Planet report concludes, world leaders must come together to build a more sustainable, resilient, and healthy world for people and nature. We are all interconnected and interdependent. Fingers crossed. I like to think there is hope. As Charles Darwin wrote, it is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent. That's not what survival of the fittest is about. But what Darwin said, the strongest of the species, those are the fittest organisms to continue on, are the ones most responsive to change. So I say, let's be responsive to the changes that are happening around us. Now, as I mentioned in the land acknowledgement, Native American Heritage Month is this month. And pretty much across the board, recognition of our interdependence with nature is a central tenet of Native American spirituality. It varies greatly from across the board of all the tribes and so on, but this is one that is shared pretty much universally. So honoring that, I close with this prayer adapted from Praising Creation by Reverend Vern Barnett. Infinite Spirit, sometimes called Grandfather, Grandmother, Father Sky, Earth Mother, Creator, we gather to praise your creation, to honor the swimmers and the crawlers, the four-leggeds and the winged ones. We give thanks for the beauty and glory of creation and open our hearts to new ways to understand our place in the universe. Not as the center or the focus, but a humble and balanced place where every step we take in a way becomes a prayer, where every word we say makes harmony with the vast vibrating cosmos, where we know we are singing the song of life. We pray to know more deeply that we are in the garden where every plant and animal, fungus and microbe is a living prayer. Without our siblings of the plant and animal and other kingdoms of life, the human family would end. So we want to bless them as they bless us. We pray for humility, not to humble ourselves before presidents or priests, but before the ants and the trees and the shrooms. For if we cannot be in true relation to these, we shall be outcasts in the garden. Let us cast the pollution from our eyes so we can see the glory and live with true thanksgiving. Great Spirit, let us remember it is not how we talk, but how we walk. May the vision of mutual interrelatedness, cosmic interdependence, the seamless process of generations, not end in cough-filled skies blotting the sun, but rather in clear air, wholesome water, healthy forests, and expansive grasslands and soil and healthy soil for all creatures, through mountain and valley and the salt sea, through a protective atmosphere, as we rejoice in all those forms of life with which we share this big blue marble called Earth. Switching now to practical matters. Our offering is one of the ways we take our